Hey traders, Raghee here, and in this recap, this free video, let's talk about what our plan, what it continues to be. And our plan continues to be waiting for these markets to rally up into resistance zones on the daily time frame, like the 34 EMA wave here on the daily. This is the NQ, looking for shorts here. One of our alerts yesterday was focusing on XLK. You know, why XLK in lieu of QQQ? There's no Amazon weighted in XLK. Amazon has been a relative performance leader, and if we can take advantage of an ETF that does not have weighting in Amazon to the short side, this I even prefer more than, say, the QQQ or the NQ. We continue to look for opportunities to short the S&P. And we continue to look for opportunities to short the Dow. Probably one of my favorite shorts, though, and this would be a longer term play, is going to be, I think, there's going to be a lot of carnage, I believe, in the stocks that are weighted within the RTY, the Russell. You can look at the IWM on this one as well, but I think it's going to be a really tough go for the Russell. In fact, I think another thing you can see, relatively speaking, is when the Russell has bounced, contrary to the bounces we've seen in the NASDAQ, which get all the way up to the 34 EMA on the low, the S&P, which get up to the 21 EMA on the, right here, there are prop dots, these 21 EMA on the close. We have a lot of other markets bouncing much, much higher than we see here on the Russell. So I do like the Russell as a relative performance leader to the downside. Shorts in the Russell at about 1190 are absolutely fair game. Okay. Shorts in the Dow, let's take a look at the YM as we trade up into the 21 exponential. The 21 exponential has been important for both the Dow and for the S&P. So that 21 EMA and really the area around 22.4 to 22.5, I think is going to continue to be really nice resistance for us to short into. And the 34 EMA on the low, we've been seeing the highest bounces in the NASDAQ, which is why I like the XLK in lieu of, say, the NASDAQ or the QQQ. But this has been the one that has been bouncing the highest, reaching the 34 EMA wave. Nonetheless, I remain very, very bearish. I don't think we're just going to, head lower cleanly from here. We'll probably still jostle around in this area as we've done for quite a few sessions. And, I think the first 3 days of the new month, including the last 3 days of the prior month, are going to continue to be pretty volatile. It has to do with the way in which we see rebalancing and distributions and, reallocating assets and things like that. But keep these zones in mind. They've been there. They've been resistance. And I think ultimately one of these tests is going to be the last one before we go down and test these lower lows. Remember, we have non-farm payroll on Friday. It won't be pretty. We had a massive crude oil build, which, by the way, keep this in mind if you're intraday trading. Today's crude oil build did send the equity markets higher, even though the backdrop behind that is relatively bearish. This is not a huge, looking at buildup in crude is what? It's reflecting much lower demand and an absolute insane amount of supply. And yet, the equities markets rallied. So keep that in mind next week if we're going to see this phenomena, as bonkers as it is, play out intraday. But a few things to keep in mind. The premium video, we're going to dive into some of the setups we talked about this morning in Aussie yen, talk a little bit about why this large gap, what do we do with it? And these are the kind of notes, and I'm happy to share these with you guys here. These are the kind of notes that we share in the room. There's a lot of notes. Sometimes they're instructional, sometimes they're pertinent to the day, sometimes they're going to give you an idea of what you may do. Whether I do it or not, I'll give you some ideas of what to do with certain kinds of market environments, the disconnect that I'm seeing, things like that. So it's an ongoing conversation with notes accompanying the alerts. We were bearish from the get-go. It was a rough go with the way in which the market's headed higher, but I think the alignment and the kind of organization that I anticipate seeing as we go through the remainder of April is starting to shape up. So very optimistic about day trading and even some of the the corrections that we're going to take advantage of, these moves into the wave for the remainder of the month as well. All right, gang, heads up and eyes open. I think there's plenty of opportunity for us, and I'll see you in the next update.